Hi guys and welcome back. I'm Adam Thomas. Thank you all so much for being here. We're doing something slightly different today. I've got a slightly different microphone that should help get rid of the echo that we have in this room. I need to figure that out, but for the time being we're going to use my podcast mic, which gets just some nice crispy audio. Today is time-lapse, so we are going to be looking at a time-lapse tattoo that I did a while ago, which I haven't got around to doing a voiceover for, but today is the day. It is a double rose eye clock combo, so a full forearm piece in black and grey. I'm going to talk you through exactly what I do from start to finish, tell you the whys and hows and different inks and needles and everything that I do throughout the process. So with all that being said, if you enjoy this content, make sure to click the subscription button to see more. Smash the like button if you enjoyed this, comment, do all the usual stuff, and if you want to see the finished piece, head over to my Instagram link in the description. And with all that being said, let's jump straight into this time-lapse tattoo. So today we've got two cameras on the go. Not that it makes a lot of difference because I'm going to be down in the corner. So we've got camera 2 and camera 1 even, and camera 2. Just so you can get a view of the side of my face, I suppose. Yeah, so let's dive straight into it. So first things first, obviously I've already got the stencil on the arm. Stencil solution that I use is Stencil Stuff. If you don't want to use that, I'll drop a link in the description where I get it from. It's amazing stuff, really good, really solid. I use Spirit paper, thermal copying paper, and a Brother stencil machine. Again, all the links in the description. And if you check out my Instagram, you'll see everyone tagged in my posts. Inks that I'm using are Nocturnal black and grey. They're West Coast set, so it's dark, medium, light, and black. And then white for Nocturnal as well. Needles that I'm using today are actually hex carts. Like I say, this video was shot quite a while ago, so I will try and be as accurate as what I can with the equipment I'm using. And I believe I'm using my Cheyenne. I can't see the cable, so it's my Cheyenne Soul Ultimate Nova Ultimate Soul. The wireless Cheyenne machine. It's really good, really solid, packs a punch, and you've got no cable, so even better. So what I tend to start with my tattoos, as you can see at the moment, is I either black line, grey line, scratch line throughout pretty much the whole tattoo. So anything that's got a solid edge. So if you've seen any of my how to design a tattoo stencil videos, you'll see on there why I do solid lines and dotted lines. So mainly the solid lines here, I'm going to run through and put in line work basically. So on the leaves specifically, that's going to be dark wash dipped into black to give us like a pretty black line around those, because I'm going to be shading off those with a really dark tone. I'm going to want to keep those nice and solid so that it's forcing me to get those tones in nice and dark, so it's going to heal up and really nice and solid. Through the roses and areas in the eye, I'm probably going to drop into like medium, and then especially in the roses it's going to be a really light wash. I want those lines to disappear and hide once it's all healed, so I don't want to see any of the lines within the roses. I'm going to keep them nice and realistic. Keep them on the realism side of things. The Roman numerals, again, that's going to be black because I want those blacked out, so I want those outlined nice and solid and black. So we're just blasting through the Roman numerals, making sure they're really nice and solid, getting those in really nice and crispy. Needle that I'll be using at the moment would be a Type 3 round liner. It's pretty much my go-to. It's either that or a Type 5. I don't really use much more, especially for sort of line work. I do have in my drawer a 9 liner, which I tend to use for either slightly bigger areas, packing things out. If I ever need to put a big line in, that's as big as I'll go, or just trying to get into real tight areas that a 7 mag won't get into. So I think I'm pretty much almost there with getting all my my structure and my line work in. I did wear the absolute wrong clothes today. I've got white trainers on and a white jumper, so no doubt I will have those covered in ink by the time we are finished. But who knows, maybe I'll stay sensible. I don't tend to drop a lot of ink. So we're back down at the bottom now. I will be using a 15 curve mag here. Again, these are hex cards from Star Tattoo Supplies in the UK. I'll be using a dark wash, probably tapped into black, so I can get off that line that we put in earlier, and always fading out. So I'll be doing a combination of whip shading and sort of loose deep-ish circles. I want to try and get that edge in quite dark, and then fade that out so we're getting this nice curve over these leaves. What I'll probably do, and I'm guessing here because I can't remember exactly my process with this tattoo, but my process tends to stay the same. So I'm going to whip around, get all the leaves in first, and then we're going to do background. So just any elements that I want really dark. So using my reference, just making sure that if I've got any edges where we've got like a white petal hitting what in essence would be skin, I want background there, so I don't have to put lines in, and it's just going to keep it a lot more realistic. And just remove the need to have solid lines around the outside of stuff, which again is just going to make it look a little bit too cartoony for my liking. The negative spaces that we've got through this, what I'm going to do, instead of putting any scratch lines through those, which will make them too sharp and too crispy and punchy, I'll use the mag, use a light wash, just whip through that line on the edges. That'll give me almost like a fluffy edge, and then when I start packing in the rest of the rows, that'll just give me that negative strip through there, and it should look like a nice effect. So again, we're working back through here. With me being right-handed, what I tend to do, which is sort of like a textbook go-to, would be start bottom right, work to top left, so you're not rubbing off your stencil. Obviously, if you work in other different ways, you've got a chance of either which way you're wiping the ink off and where your hand's leaning on top of the stencil, you're going to start rubbing that off, which will stress you out if you rub off all your stencil before you've actually got the tattoo in there. So again, this one's a little bit clearer, so you can see how I've got this bottom shadow, then I jump up to sort of the spine, the middle section of the leaf, fade that up, and then I'll just smooth everything out, just to give us that nice rollover. Go on to number 2. So my GoPro splits these clips up, so I have to knit them all together on the fly. To you it'll be seamless, for me I have to find these clips every time, so hopefully it'll all work. So we've got this leaf in, getting a bit more background in, so getting a bit of a drop shadow underneath there, making sure I'm keeping everything nice and clean. Just going to get some of these dark tones into this rose. I think at this point I was maybe starting to rub off a bit of the stencil. It wouldn't have caused too many problems because obviously I've got those scratch lines in, but because I've got all those dotted lines where my shading tones are going to be, I might as well use those while I've still got them in there. So just sort of whipping through this rose. So the plan will be almost to sort of go printery, in the sense of we'll start from the bottom and we'll just sort of go line by line, get our way up to the top, as opposed to jumping around the piece, making the arm sore, going back over stuff. So we're just getting one of these water droplets in at the bottom. I'm pretty sure I might have done a pro-grade tutorial on how to shoot water droplets, how I tend to do them. They're really, really straightforward. They're basically just like little smiley faces. Really sort of, they just add that little bit of an extra element to my roses. And they just make them have a bit more life and something a bit more interesting to look at than just a load of petals. So definitely go and check out that tutorial if you're interested in popping water droplets onto your pieces. So working through this bottom rows, we're getting all the dark tones in, and sort of some of the medium tones. So just making sure, like I say, everything's nice and smooth. Make sure that we're always sort of smoothing out. So whip shading a lot with these roses. I'm still using a 15 curve mag at this point. I'm probably stressing myself out a little bit in the middle there. So I'll probably switch down to something slightly smaller, either in a second or towards the end, just to go back in and sharpen stuff. Or what I tend to do with the roses is I'll get the bulk of it in, and I'll go back through the liner, sharpen up some edges, just to keep everything really nice and crisp. So in the same way that you do white highlights, I tend to go through with blacks at the end, just to like give me almost like low lights. So once everything's settled down, you can see these tones. I just hit those blacks and just make sure they're really punchy, really solid. So once it heals, we get those real nice, crisp, solid edges, as opposed to just everything being a bit washed out. So just working with this one side. So I think my plan at the moment is just to get sort of right the way up this side. I'll probably get into the eye, I imagine. As I say that, I jump into the eye. We're going to get this eye done now. So just got those Roman numerals in, they're solid black, so we just pounded those in. So now we're going to start getting these dark tones in on the eye, so where all the shadow falls on this one side. Again, very similar to how I do the petals. So hit the blacks in first, fade that out, whip shade it out. And then you can start getting your midtones in and smoothing things out. So again, we're into the middle of the eye, so the pupil and the iris, just get that in nice and solid and black. Make sure it's really punchy, get that highlight in. Make sure we've got that real high contrast in there, make it look nice and glossy, like an eye should. Working our way through the eyelashes. again, I've sort of put a few scratch lines in there, so they'd be in sort of with like a dark wash, and then I'll just top those up with my mag on the side, so we get like that slightly bigger base to them, and then they can feather out into that nice sort of eyelash sort of hairline. So again, this bottom lid in, making sure that we are creating that curvature of the eye. We don't want it to look nice and flat, so you can see how I've got all these nice shadows in the actual eye itself. So at this point, we're just going to wrap it up. So I've wrapped it up with cling film and paper towel. So what that's going to do is allow my client to go and grab some lunch, but the paper towel should stop that top area that we haven't started tattooing yet. Stop that from sweating off with the cling film. So we can come back and take it all off, and everything should be nice and sound, and I should still have a stencil there. If not, I will panic, and then I will try and have to get a stencil back on, but because we scratch lined it, it would be in a world of pain. So yeah, just pop the paper towel on there underneath there, and it'll just keep everything nice and sensible. So I've decided to pop the bed up. So what I normally do this for is when you're trying to do the forearm, sometimes you can't quite twist the arm with someone being sat up. So if you drop the bed back, it just allows them to roll over a little bit. You just get a little bit of extra twist. So this will be so I can just get on that underside of the arm, and then we can get the rest of the tattoo in. So we're now back into the tattoo. So you can see how by having the lay down, I can twist the arm that little bit further around and get onto this left-hand side edge, so I can get this petal in down the bottom. This is why I didn't line this in earlier, just because I couldn't quite get to it with the twist with them being sat up. Sensibly, I probably should have had them lay down from the start, but some clients don't like to be laid down, so and it also gives them a bit of change of position throughout the day as well, so they can sit up for a little bit and then sit down towards the end of the day, and just, yeah, like I say, just breaks the day up for them. So with the rose, again, we are just carving out those lens flares at the bottom. Again, they won't be lined, they will just be there as stencil, so we'll just whip through that with the shading, keep them nice and soft, same as those negative strips that run through. Make sure they're nice and fluffy. We don't want them to be too crisp and sharp. We want them to be very much an effect on top of the tattoo, more than an actual detail itself. So just popping in the second leaf there. So again, on the bottom, roll them up, give us that nice curvature. And then you can see now that I'm just carving a bit of background just to get that little bit of that negative strip just flipping out the side. And like I say, without them being laid down, I probably wouldn't have been able to reach this. So yeah, it just gives me that little bit of extra twist in the arm. Blacking out the Roman numerals, so that will just be solid black. So with having those crispy lines in there that we put in earlier, that's going to help hold those edges, make sure they stay nice and solid and punchy. And then I'm using maybe a 7 curve mag, just to block out those. 7 or 15 with these won't really make too much of a difference. Obviously the 15 is just wider, so trying to get the just that sort of square block of Roman numerals in, 15 or 7 is going to really do the job for you. So any sort of mag just to get in there, that sort of does me. Or if you've got like a big round shader or big liner, just pound it in. Either which way, it's just trying to get into that little tiny fine gap between the two lines you put in earlier. So we're just getting a bit of the background in around here. I think my thought process is to keep those Roman numerals with a fairly clean sort of background. So it's going to create almost that clock face, but without putting in a clock face sort of thing. So your eye sort of makes that look. Now that it's sort of we've done all of that bottom section, we'll just jump up now and start getting this top rose in. This one's a little bit bigger, however the petals are a little bit more open. So time-wise, it shouldn't take me too much longer than the bottom one. At this point, my client's probably going to start getting sore. Obviously, we've done sort of half of his forearm. We'll be well into maybe like 2 o'clock. So we would have started just after 10ish. So between 10 and 11 is normally when I start tattooing. So yeah, we've been going for a good sort of like 3 or 4 hours now. So again, starting with dark tones. So we're just going in, getting some of this background element in up the side. We're just going to carve out that negative strip that just falls off the rose. And then we're going to start getting in some black points within the rose. So we've got this one dark big shadow underneath, and then we'll just start working all the shadows as we work up. This is going to help maintain all the tones and the values correctly. Once we've got a black tone in there, it'll allow us to work backwards from that, make sure all the tones are as they should be, and that we're not putting sort of medium or dark tones in black, and that way we can't make black any darker than the black areas. So just getting this water droplet in. Again, this is all with a 15 curve mag, all of this bottom section, and this is mainly going to be my dark wash and maybe some bits of black. And then as I come out, we'll start dipping into medium. I won't be using a lot of light at this point. That tends just to come in just to smooth out any mag marks. But areas that I don't particularly want to have much sort of tattoo ink involved, but I just want to take it off that skin tone slightly. It's just so once it heals, it all beds into the skin, and it looks nice and smooth and airbrushed. Getting this almost last leaf in. And there's two more leaves towards the top, which yeah, they're going to feel delicious right on the side of the elbow. And yeah, with the roses, the leaves tend to be my more solid parts of the tattoo as well. So yeah, that's going to be exciting for him coming up. So again, working our way round with the roses, which you've probably seen from some of my other time lapses. I tend to sort of circle my way around, get the big petals in first, and then work my way into the middle. Like I say, with everything being scratch lined in, I'm not going to rub it all off. So yeah, I'm fairly confident with my stencils. To be fair, with stencil stuff and the spirit paper, these stencils for me tend to stay on pretty much all day. They have the right level of staying on and then disappearing off. So yeah, it's a combination I've used for pretty much my whole tattooing career, and it's something that I really appreciate that they stay on. Otherwise, like I say, it's very, very stressful if they disappear halfway through a tattoo. So by the looks of it, this is the last little bit of dark stencil at the top. This dark shadow stencil, talking about stencils. So just getting that in, that's going to create all these nice big highlight sections on the petals with the petals that fall underneath. So again, working from your shadows and working out, it's just going to allow you to see areas that don't necessarily need tattooing. With black and grey, the elements and areas that you leave as skin, so like open sections of the tattoo, are just as important as the areas that you do tattoo. It's just going to give you that nice contrast once it all heals, having that sort of heavy black against skin tone. As long as you've got the right sort of values in there and the right amount of background, it's going to look like like a really nice effect, especially through healing as well. Having those areas of open skin lets the tattoo breathe. It just means it's going to last longer through the years. It's not going to sort of blur and blend together. It's going to be easily read from a distance as well, so it's not going to look like a big black blob on your client's arm. You're going to have all those areas, so people are going to be able to see what the tattoo is, and you're not going to have to explain as a client to everyone what you've got. So we're just getting these last two leaves in. Like I say, these are probably not feeling the greatest. Bit of background just to give me a slight little drop shadow, which you can sort of see underneath that top side. Just carving out the last few little bits of background at the top here. So these are the last two little lens flares. So again, these won't be scratched in. These will just be just made up with the shading. So I'm keeping the shading fairly nice and light. So these will just be medium tones, just washed over the skin. We're getting towards that ditch of the elbow, which is going to get a little bit angry. So yeah, we just want to keep that nice and simple. So as and when anything else gets dropped into the tattoo, we can knit that all together. We haven't got some big heavy background that's going to be really hard to knit together. So last few little bits of shading, just to make them, just make the areas like pop a little bit. Just popping on a little bit of back tea. I'm going to wrap this up just for 2 seconds, just take the edge off. Just whilst I'm probably getting white sorted, maybe, I'm not sure at what point we are here, but yeah, the back tea is just going to take the edge off for my client. Just give them that fighting chance to get through the rest of the day. So I'll just skip forward until we're back. So hopefully this should be not necessarily feeling numb, but it should be feeling a little bit nicer. So not too sharp now. So we are starting back down at the bottom with the white highlights. So with white, I tend to nip over most, if not all, of the outside of my petals. I am making sure that I'm looking at my reference. So I'm quite particular with what roses I pick for reference and the tattoos that I do with roses. So I'm looking for certain elements. So yeah, these white highlights, I'll bump these up in Procreate just so like they're very punchy. These are going to look quite harsh as far as highlights are concerned now, but once they heal, they'll soften into the skin, but it's just going to give you that nice defined edge, make everything look nice and crisp. So yeah, we're just whipping through most of these edges. So white is mainly going to be in the edges of my roses, the water droplets. We're going to have a few little bits in the eye, just to make everything look a little bit shiny, give you that sort of like the wetness to the eye itself. So here we are now, just getting the this big highlight at the bottom, which makes a big difference. It just helps to make everything look nice and glossy, shiny. So just popping a few little bits in the iris itself, and just that big highlight, just making sure that we're, like I say, paying fairly close attention to the stencil, taking a few little artistic liberties, just to make things sort of work better as a tattoo and look more appealing. But yeah, like I say, mainly we are just following the stencil, following the reference as close as we can, and not sort of making too much stuff up. Being realism, obviously we want to try and keep everything looking fairly nice and realistic. But again, it's got to work as a tattoo, so you do need to make a few judgment calls here and there. So these should be the last few little bits of white, just popping these through the top rows there, just to make those little tiny details in the middle just pop out and just stand out against all the black and grey work. So just re-hitting just a few of the highlights now that everything's settled down. Doing the last few at the top, which I'm sure are feeling delicious. Take a few photos, a back team to make them better, which will allow me to get a slightly nicer photo at the end, just help settle down those whites. And that is pretty much the time lapse done. So there you go, guys, that was time-lapse tattoo. That was a full forearm piece from start to finish, 2 roses, an eye, and a few other bits and bobs. If you want to see the final tattoo, there'll be links in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to click the like button on here. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, click the subscription button, click the bell icon, and you'll get notified of all my latest uploads, and you can check out all of my content. There's a playlist for all my time-lapse tattoos, so make sure to go and check those out. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you all on the next video. Peace.